Welcome into the Backroads Bill podcast. I'm Ben, and today we do not have a guest, which means Bill and I get a little chance to catch up a little bit. And we go into some very interesting topics. The main topic, of course, if you read the title, you'll know we're talking snowshoeing. We go into the history of snowshoeing. We go into some of Bill's favorite trails. And we also get into the minutia a little bit at what point does a snowshoe become a cross-country ski? Now, here's the thing. I know what you're thinking. Two completely different things, but trust me, when you start digging into it a little bit, there's some blurred lines. So we get into that a little bit. I think I may have broken Bill a little bit with that question because he didn't really have a good answer for me. But we do get into that. It's actually pretty amusing. But before we get started with this episode, I would just like to put out to our listeners, whether you are a longtime enjoyer or a first-time listener / watcher, to consider giving the show a like, a comment, a review, depending on what platform you are. If you're on the North Bay Echo YouTube channel, consider subscribing. It's really allowing us to continue to grow the network, to grow the show, and it allows us to attract sponsors. That allows us to keep doing what we have been doing for the last 18 months. And again, just if you enjoy it, anything, just let us know, and that's always appreciated. And sometimes it feels like you're, like me and Bill are talking out into the void. So whenever we hear these comments from you, the listener, it's always a good feeling as well. So please, again, if you're able to do that, great. And speaking of some of our great sponsors, we do have to shout out today's lead sponsor for the show that, again, helps us keep doing what we love to do, and that is North Bay Toyota. It's time to Toyota at North Bay Toyota. Attention truck lovers, have you been Tundra struck? The powerful and dependable Toyota Tundra is the new definition of grit. Ask us about amazing lease deals on a 2025 Tundra Double Cap SR 4-wheel drive and experience ingenious levels of capability, technology, and refinement. Or maybe you're an SUV lover? Take advantage of a limited shipment of 2025 RAV4s and discover the perfect blend of style, comfort, and efficiency in a compact SUV that ignites your desire to explore. Right now, get excellent lease deals on the Toyota RAV4 LE all-wheel drive and more. It's time to Toyota at North Bay Toyota, 640 McEwen, or online at northbaytoyota.com for details. So we are now about halfway through December. Now, again, we are pre-recording this because Bill, you're gone.
Yeah.
We don't have a guest today, but this is kind of cool. So again, we're recording this kind of at the beginning of November, and we want to talk a little bit about your winter prediction because we won't obviously be able to talk a little bit about how we're not from the future, so we won't be able to bring that in. But I will have to say you were pretty spot on last week because you said in your winter prediction back in October, you said how we're going to have a blast around Halloween. And outside of 2 days where it got unnormally warm, you were right. It started to snow that week of Halloween.
Yeah, it's I remember back, never mind the future. I love that movie, Back to the Future. That's a great movie. But and it's not about being righteous. It's about, reading the signs. And of course, everyone's going to say, well, it's all just, climate change and El Nino, and of course it is. But nonetheless, we are talking about snowshoeing. And of course, the winter prediction went very quickly. You can listen to that podcast. And Ben, you could probably look up what number it was. It was just not too long ago. But it's going to be a carbon copy of last year, meaning, yes, we're going to get that blast, and it's not going to stick around. It's not going to be very cold. In other words, kind of milder. And not too much snow and an early spring. And that's what all the natural signs, and we talked about these things. So, I mean, yes, there'll be snowshoeing, but if you talk to people about last year in snowshoeing, they would say, wow, I maybe got out 4 times or something like that. I can remember I was snowshoeing, and I kept the labyrinth at the Samuel D. Champlain Provincial Park open at the Canadian Ecology Center, but I didn't get out snowshoeing that many times, and there wasn't a lot of snow. So again, I've already been told by many snow enthusiasts that they're not very happy about that, especially snowmobilers. Because actually, I just wrote something this morning about, by latitude, trailering is going to have to happen even more so by latitude, and people are going to have to go up, Highway 11. Trailering meaning you take your snow machines. If you can't find trails in the Muskoka, you're going to go further north. And further north at one time meant the North Bay area, etc. But now you're going to have to go up, Timmins, Cochrane, and Smooth Rock Falls, and Kapuskasing, and those kinds of places, which eventually winter does stick around. But last year, it took so long for the trails to open, the snowmobile trails to open. It was hardly even worth it. But we're talking about snowshoes, and I wanted to get started about, do you have snowshoes? I guess that's not my first question.
My mom does. She snowshoes into my cottage because we have like a laneway that comes down.
Yeah.
So they'll snowshoe down. I personally, I'm by proxy, I guess. Yeah. But.
Oh, okay. So are they traditional snowshoes or the fabricated ones? Fabricated meaning they're the aluminum type ones now that have, some sort of synthetic mesh to them and have,
I think they're both.
Oh yeah,
because I think we have the ones that are they look like boots, not like the traditional wooden.
Oh, okay.
Snowshoes, yeah.
So, and I've written about this before, and I was taught by my mentor, Cliff Mulder, one of the last of the great outdoorsmen. And Cliff has one of the largest snowshoe collections north of Texas. And I say that, and it's true. He is a snowshoe collector and knows all about traditional indigenous snowshoes, which vary across North America, especially across Canada and northern states, of how they were utilized in the winter, their shapes, how they were designed, and of course the whole thing with moccasins and mucklucks and how they fastened those mucklucks onto the mesh, onto the babiche, and those things. So the wooden ones, made of perhaps ash, whatever they could use, and bent, and then put the sinew in there and put some sort of binding. Often when lamp wick was thereabouts from a trading item, they would lash them. That would be the lashing you'd use to attach it to your snowshoe. So we have those traditional snowshoes, and I have several pairs of them, which are great for deep snow. And then, of course, we talked briefly about the manufactured ones, and they're short, and they still have a little mini tail on them, but they were designed to put in the back of little compact cars. People that drive commuter cars will call them so, and would fit. And so it was a matter of convenience historically that they came up with those. I mean, snowshoeing there used to be snowshoe clubs. If you go back to the other century in the 1920s up into the First World War and thereabouts, there was snowshoe clubs. There was the Easy Life Canoe Club in North Bay on the shores of Lake Nipissing down by First Rocky, Parsons Avenue. And there were snowshoe events, and it was a real social gathering when you had these snowshoe outings. And they'd have fires and the like, and it was social recreation at its finest. Then there was a lull, and I don't want to say when the lull was really, and then all of a sudden these newly fabricated snowshoes that you could wear any boot and put it on the binding and cinch it up with a ratchet-like strap and go anywhere you wanted. And so all of a sudden, a decade or so more, it was an explosion of snowshoeing, and people got back to winter again on snowshoes because of these man-made designed snowshoes, humankind designed snowshoes that go anywhere, anytime. And so that's one thing. The other tip I will just add, I always say to people, take your cross-country ski poles or your poles for snowshoeing. It increases your ability for turning, going up slopes and the like. So those are tools. Rather than not use your arms and your hands with your poles. I mean, that's a little bit of a primer of what we're going to talk about, because we're going to talk about where we should go snowshoeing. But I thought it was good just to mention that's the capsule history lesson of snowshoes and where we are today. And of course, there'll be lots of pairs of snowshoes under the Christmas trees or whatever religious holiday there might be. Snowshoes will be a welcome gift for anyone to get them outside in those times of winter. And people do look forward to a white Christmas, no doubt about it. Never mind the Backroads Bill prediction. Let's just say, let's go snowshoeing.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm looking at a bunch of them on like Wikipedia and stuff, and all the different styles. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put some pictures here on the screen. If you're listening to it, you can check out the video version on the North Bay Echo YouTube channel. Yeah, because there's so many, like the evolution is so interesting because as you were saying, obviously it comes from like the original indigenous snowshoes that we've had to where they are now. And I think the biggest thing that I've noticed obviously is the size, right? Because I remember seeing not a traditional one, but when you think of a snowshoe and they're big, they're a couple of feet long. And some of the small ones, especially now, I could see how a lot of people would want to use them and how convenient they are. And
Yeah.
But the one thing about snowshoes is the reason they're so big is they offset the weight in the snow, right? So you don't sink. Do you know how like they're able to make them smaller? Like don't you still need that, displacement?
Surface area to keep you afloat, so to speak. Well, first of all, I have long wooden snowshoes that are almost 5 feet in length that are long and narrow, and they're great for crossing open bodies of water, frozen, mind you. That was snow on top. And then, of course, that beaver tail kind of design to them. So there is a correlation. I always say for those manufacturers of snowshoe, get as large of a surface area as possible. But the other thing people are doing now, they're actually walking on well-trodden trails anyway, or they're following people. So for breaking snow, the traditional snowshoe is the way to go, as opposed to the recreational snowshoe or going out on trails that are already well trodden, so to speak, and you're just worried about any new snow on top or not sinking, because depending on the weather conditions, there's nothing worse than breaking through the crust, jarring your knee, so to speak, and getting frustrated by not being able to keep afloat on top of the snow. So the smaller snowshoes, to answer your question, serve that purpose, but they don't function the same way as a traditional snowshoe, given the size of the area and how they're designed.
So you have to really it's almost like a tool, right? Like you have different tools for different kind of
as
situations.
A wise person once told me, you can never have enough canoes or kayaks or snowshoes.
How many snowshoes, when you go in the Backroads and you're at the Ecology Center or you're wherever, how many different kinds of snowshoes do you bring?
Well, bring or just put on, I have at my disposal probably a half a dozen pairs for sure.
And they're all different. They're all different kinds?
Sizes and types. And,
wow.
And again, light snow and somewhere where I've been, I'll just put on the smaller ones. For new snow, that's, you get 5 to 10 centimeters of snow, something like that, you put something with a bigger surface area on. Areas you're breaking ground in, if the vegetation is not too dense, then you have a certain snowshoe for that, as opposed to open areas that have a lot of snow and you're not dealing with saplings and things sticking out of the snow. Yeah, so you can never have enough snowshoes. And same with cross country skis now. They have these short cross country skis that allow you to traverse, make sharp turns and things like that. So there's always a place for snowshoes. But these man-made ones get people outside to get vitamin N. We've talked about vitamin N, and we're going to talk about today about places to go in and around the North Bay area, but certainly across Northern Ontario.
Yeah, and that was one of the things you said right at the beginning. You were talking a little bit about the snowmobiles. And, actually, the very first Echo Essentials episode we ever did was with Sean Flindell, who runs the snowshoe, or not snowshoe, sorry, the snowmobile club around here.
Okay.
And one of those topics was just like how late and like how short the season is and stuff like that. And I think that's as we've had more mild winters, less snow and stuff coming in. Do you think that there's a real danger of that, the snowshoeing and snowmobiling, but that kind of winter sport slowly going more north and north and north, and less being as less prominent, and the seasons you can actually go shrinking?
Now, Ben, there's a big difference between a snowmobile that might be new or used between $15,000 to $20,000 and a pair of snowshoes that might be between $300 to $600. So that's one thing. But by latitude, you're quite right. I mean, people buying snowmobiles will think about this a lot before they invest. If you're in the North Bay area, you'd have to think about trailering, moving your snow machine up Highway 11 to places like Cochrane, Smoothbrook Falls, Kapuskasing, where there may be a longer season. Same with snowshoeing. I think it's not the investment, but you're looking for time and a place to go snowshoeing, so it is a little different. I always tell the story about a long time ago when, with regards to, I did an ATV project, and you say, "Whoa, Backroads build ATVs and things." But think about this.
Wait, you made? You can't just gloss over that.
Well, no, and in fact, I'm going to be speaking about this coming up. Like I'm the Canadian Equality Center on two projects I did, created the Ontario Federation of All-Terrain Vehicles and ATV trails in Ontario, and it's a longer story. Maybe it's for a podcast, but what I learned way back then, that's 25 years ago, that the largest manufacturer of recreational equipment, outdoor recreational equipment in the world, Honda, does not make a snow machine. They knew about climate change 50 years ago and more, when the scientists were telling us 50 or more years ago, and they don't make a snow machine. Of course, Polaris, Arctic Cat, Bombardier, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They all make snow machines. And I think I heard the other day, I don't want to name the manufacturer, but another main of those, like Kawasaki, Suzuki, are stopping to make snow machines because it goes to your point that there is less snow and thereabouts. I mean, Americans in those northern states, border states, and of course across Canada, there's less snow, and so you have to pick. I mean, many people trailer to parts in Quebec and the Gaspé. There's a wonderful, route around the Gaspé Peninsula that has become really, really popular with snowmobilers. So back to snowshoes and snowmobiling. Yeah, that's going to occur for sure. And will people stop buying snowshoes? I guess we would talk to the snowshoe manufacturers about, how is there still that huge amount of people that are buying snowshoes each year? I don't know.
Because I imagine too, because obviously they're a creation from the indigenous communities, that they, a lot of them probably make their own. I would imagine, right? Like I don't know how many would go out and purchase.
It's a time-honored skill, and Cliff Mulder would tell you, who knows quite a bit about snowshoes and taught me a lot about snowshoes, one of the last of the great outdoorsmen. It's a process, and you need to know what you're doing about when do you cut down the wood and get the babiche and everything else about it. So, yeah, it's a time-honored skill, and I think like anything else, it's disappearing in all cultures.
Well, we still have a lot to get through, including our hot debate on whether a snowshoe and a cross-country ski are the same thing, and when does that bridge cross each other. But before we get to that, we do have to thank one of our show sponsors on the North Bay Echo Community Podcast Network, and that's one of actually our new sponsors, is Source for Sports North Bay. Paul McLean, who is the owner and actually is the co-host on the Echo Sportscast, which, quick plug, comes out every Friday on all of your favorite podcast platforms. He's done a great job, not just supporting Echo as what we do here, but also he has been a big proponent in the community, especially in the sports community. Again, he has done a fantastic job as a co-host on the Sportscast, donating his time to make sure that we're covering all the stuff that people are doing in North Bay sports-wise, the high school stuff and et cetera. But his team at Source for Sports has been absolutely fantastic to make sure that you're going to get exactly what you need, whether it's for your child or it's for you as a grown adult. They have basically everything that you possibly need, but they do such a good job, especially for people who aren't super knowledgeable, and it is for a kid, and they're not too sure what they need. His team, they have amazing expertise. They have just an amazing atmosphere, amazing community. Their focus, their main goal is making sure that your kid is going to be able to play the sport that they love. And they do such an amazing job, again, in our community, and they do such an amazing job in the sports world here in North Bay. So the next time that you're considering to purchase anything sports-related, consider heading down to Source for Sports North Bay. They're located at 1321 Fisher Street, and that way Paul and his team can help you along your way.
North Bay Echo is proud to partner with Twigs Coffee Roasters, a part of the community since 1995. Twigs offers a wide selection of quality beans, fresh roasted in-house every day. Find your favorite specialty drinks at our espresso bar, rejuvenate with freshly squeezed juice, or treat yourself to mouth-watering selections from our gourmet deli. And don't forget our irresistible fresh baked goods, including uncompromising gluten-free options. Twigs has 5 locations to serve you from North Bay to Sturgeon Falls to Sudbury. Order online for pickup at twigs.ca. And coming soon, you'll be able to order fresh roasted coffee beans direct to your doorstep from our distribution center in North Bay.
Well, let's get to the places.
Let's get to it because it's about sense of place and where to take those snowshoes in the back trunk of your compact car or anywhere else. Let's talk about, maybe we should talk about the North Bay area first.
Yeah, like where, so obviously we're in North Bay, depending on where you listen. I know there's people that listen from all over the place, but if you're in the North Bay area, you want to visit, there's obviously one of the beauties of North Bay is there's a lot of places you can go, a lot of trails. Obviously we have the Canadian Ecology Center. Do you guys have trails and stuff that are open for public use?
It's a good place to start. Samuel D. Champlain Provincial Park and the Canadian Ecology Center. Now we have a multi-use trail that is groomed by the park. It's a neat concept because you can ride your fat tire bike on it, you can walk on it, you can snowshoe on it, and cross-country ski on it. When I say, and it's kind of like a conduit. If you're riding your fat tire bike, I don't know, it's about 8 kilometers, a little short of that. If you were on your snowshoes, you might use it and then go off trail to one of the other trails. So it's kind of like the 401, go down that. And then people that are walking, it's, again, it's groomed, it's hard packed for the most time. And I've, and kick sledding as well. That's become popular. We might invest in some kick sleds. You can just Google kick sleds. It's a neat thing. It's sort of like snowshoes. It's a sled and you kick to propel yourself and you don't have to worry about having the right cross-country ski wax, the right boots, the right length, and all that kind of thing. So within Samuel D. Champlain Provincial Park, one of my recommendations, if you have a short length of time, you can do the longer history trail, which might be 3 hours plus, along the Mattawa River and circle back. But the Red Pine Trail, which takes you out to 2 vistas, might take an hour and a half or something on the Mattawa River. That's my recommendation. So I often talk about, provincial parks are like gym memberships. I really recommend, and we're going to have somebody on from Ontario Parks to talk about the use of parks. But getting a seasonal park pass is like a gym membership because you can even though the park may be closed, there's all these accesses to parks. Sure, they're not for the Canadian Ecology Center and Samuel D. Champlain Provincial Park. There's no gate at the highway. Other places, the gates are not far back on the highway, and you park. They're usually plowed up to the gate. There's limited parking, and then you snowshoe in. But you go to a place like Resto Provincial Park, just to the southwest of North Bay, near Loring. Wow! Then you're going to take that trail up to the fire tower and the overlook of Stormy Lake. Fantastic. And again, there's a little further south, there's Mikisew. So there's those parks. You get up to Martin River Provincial Park. The gate's right at the highway, but snowshoe in and you'll be on the old growth pine trail, and you go to probably the 3rd largest white pine tree in Ontario with a huge girth on it, width to it. So in and around the North Bay area alone, there's provincial parks. But then, of course, you think about the Cranberry Trails at Callander. That's one of those ones where you may or may not need you need a smaller pair of snowshoes. But there's also trails off that Cranberry Trail that take you right back to the Lavaz River. So that's an area to go on. The Wassy Falls Ski Club, when we talk about all our cross-country ski centers, they all have snowshoe trails just about now. The Wassy is an excellent example of where there's snowshoe trails. The Nordic Ski Club that has the same, on and on it goes. I mean, it's not like the Cape Paceway that people drive over it and they're probably mostly walking on it. But then again, there are places along the Cape Paceway that you can go snowshoeing in the bush, off of Booth Road and further down towards the Cranberry Trails Calendar Way. So conservation areas. Then you talk about the top of the North Bay Escarpment. There's the trails all up there that people fat bike all winter long and snowshoe. So there's opportunities everywhere to go on safe, signed, and mapped trails, so people don't have to worry. Of course, in snowshoeing, I mean, if you thought you got turned around, you just follow your tracks back. That's the difference between being really lost and just a little bit of confused about where you might be spatially. So in and around the North Bay area, there's countless places. And as we talk a little bit more about Northern Ontario, it's the same everywhere. You start thinking about provincial parks, conservation areas and municipal trails that exist in the municipality. Oh, and again, now you're thinking about it without even looking at my notes. Then you've got the Canadore trails. People walk them either from the end at Descheny or at the University College end, and then there are those trails, a whole network of trails that some of them you want to snowshoe on, and of course there's cross-country trails there as well. So it's just, when you think about it, there's no shortage of trails for snowshoeing, and we started off with the North Bay example. Then you go again towards Mattawa, you've got the Eau Claire Gorge. I mean, I say people, if you want to see a waterfall and a gorge, you should go out there in all four seasons. So in other words, and there's a Backroads Bill infomercial on that. Go Backroads Bill, Northern Ontario Travel, and you'll see Backroads Bill at the Eau Claire Gorge snowshoeing in the winter. I had hair then, though, but that still exists in all those northern travel kind of vignettes. And again, another snowshoe one that captures the winter was a snowshoeing into the Devil's Rock, which we've talked about as well.
Yeah.
So we haven't even started going up the Highway 11. I did mention Martin River and places, but we were concentrating on the North Bay area. There's a conservation area in Corbeil. People forget it's just in behind the ball fields and the tennis courts and by the school right across there. There's places everywhere to go snowshoeing. And then there's the people that, hey, all the abundance of Crown Land, you just go snowshoeing to your favorite lake to go. Perhaps there's still those people that go into these small speckled trout lakes where they can only get in maybe by sewing machine, but they could also might throw a little toboggan in by snowshoe and do that. And there's people that use snowshoes for winter camping, for sure, absolutely. March winter camping, that could be another show when we talk about people that have run, winter journeys across Northern Ontario. Maybe we should get those people on.
Yeah, so that's a lot of places.
Wow. Sorry.
Just in North Bay. Well, it gives you a good idea of how many places are in North Bay, right? Like just in our area alone. But going back to your winter prediction a little bit, because we talked about the snow. Like, when do you think, realistically, for people here, when do you think you will be able to go on trails?
Like last year, it wasn't until after Christmas, way after Christmas. I'm thinking the same thing. The sign said that. I don't want to repeat the other podcast, but the signs point to not having a lot of snow. So that's like 2 months,
basically, worth of...
Well, after Christmas, because first of all, what we found out last year, you had to stay off the water bodies, whether they're creeks, rivers, or lakes. You couldn't go on them, and that's why the snow... I think, like,
wait, what do you mean? What do you mean you had to stay? Just because they didn't freeze, or was that like okay?
Yeah, they don't freeze, and the worst possible thing is to go through the water. But certainly on the edge of anything, you get slush on your traditional or humankind made snowshoes. It's a bad day. That's why wolves don't go into the water. They chase deer out on the lakes and try to take them down. But if the deer get into open water, they don't go in the water because they don't want water on their forepaws. It acts like slush.
Yeah, but why can't you put them on snowshoes?
Oh, they just become like anchors.
Oh, okay. I thought
covered,
it might be.
Yeah, and it's just sticky. You take it off and it just sticks. There's a physics principle there. So creeks, rivers, and of course lakes. And you mean you wouldn't want to, if it was iffy, you would only go along the shoreline anyway. And then all the trails. Oh, and we forgot the stepping stones trails at the end of McPherson Drive. Wonderful network of trails created by the local people there. I've done a couple stories on that. So yeah, it's going to take a while. And then but it's wonderful when the fresh snow comes. People want to get out and go snowshoeing.
How many? Do you guys have educational stuff at the ecology center? Like, do you guys do around snowshoeing?
Snowshoeing is one of our wintertime.
It's an elective, right?
It's one of our core programs for schools and anyone coming out, because we chose snowshoes in the beginning because that very reason. They're easy to put on. You get on and get going. There's not boots and skis, and you got to learn how to stop and go and fall over and get up. Whereas snowshoes, it's let's get going. That's why we gained when this, in our push button social media society. The snowshoes are the thing. Oh, I just got to open the trunk, get the snowshoes on, and get going.
Well, and I was going to ask, like, what's the difference between snowshoes and cross country skiing? Like, is it like you can't? Because the principle is the same, right? You're going across the...
Well, okay. Well, cross-country skiing, you have the classic skiing where you have a track set And then you've got skate skiing where, it's just the groomed, so you can skate ski, but cross-country skiing requires more skills, and you have to learn those skills to get going.
But is it the same paths? You know what I mean? Or is it like they have to be like curated paths for...
Yeah, no, for sure. Cross-country, unless you have bush skis.
You can't just go wherever.
No, you just can't go. You can go, only with the right type of cross-country skis can you go bush skiing.
Which at that point, they're probably snowshoes. Oh, well, now we're getting into the minutia. Okay. So at what point does a cross-country ski become a snowshoe?
Well,
right? They're pretty similar.
A cross-country ski, which is long and thin, is a little different than a snowshoe, which is kind of short and stubby and wide. I don't know. I think you get to the point in time when the vegetation gets very thick, and that's the only things you can use: shorter cross-country skis or snowshoes. So
I'm just saying, like it gets to a point where you're like, they're the same thing.
It's like gets to a point where you have to take a membership for cross-country skiing at a cross-country ski facility and or the open lake on Lake Nipissing. A lot of people just ski in the open lake.
People go on the ice?
Yeah, they ski on the ice, and they there's enough snow on the ice, hard packed snow, that people ski out to the Manitou Islands and back. Sure.
Yeah, that'd be so scary though. Like being in the middle.
Well, when it's not until the ice freezes, like mid-February.
Well, I guess it's the same as like ice huts and stuff, but just being like just that idea of being on the ice there. And I know wasn't it last year that they had it was very short. That period, I believe.
The whole season was short for ice fishing and for snowmobiling and everything.
Because what is the how thick does the ice have to be before they say for for snowshoeing or like? Yeah,
like isn't it like something like 10 centimeters, less than 6 inches? Because it's amazing what it can support. It's the difference supporting you as opposed to your ice shack, as opposed to
like a vehicle
the Ford 150 towing out the shack and going through the water, which it's almost tradition that happens in Lake Nipissing every year.
That one person's car goes through.
Then the rescue people, what do they call it? The yellow trucks come along. Their names on all the yellow trucks. I don't think that's a good
tradition.
It's all. They have a whole. They even know how to take trucks out of. They have special rigs. They set up a platform and they take the truck out of the water. What's the name? Someone will call in. I wish it was a call in right now. It's the yellow trucks. They're known everywhere. They do it all over.
Yeah, I don't know because
you can look that up.
The other tradition is just people keep one person who keeps their ice shack out on the ice until it like falls in, and then they get heavily fined because
the MNR, the Ministry, you have to have a permit and have track of those people now because you have to have a number on the shack.
Do they fish them out too? Like, or
I don't know.
If you go to the bottom of Lake Nipissing or Trout Lake, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think you get charged. I don't know. They might take it out.
That'd be interesting. That'd be one heck of an expedition to see.
Well, yeah, no. I'm trying to think of the yellow
of that lake.
Getting stuck on the yellow trucks there that take.
1 second, I'll look it up for you.
Yeah, the yellow trucks. The yellow trucks that lift trucks out of the water. It's a well-known name. They're all over the place. They're a towing company. You'll have it in a second. We got to get talking about where to go snowshoeing there, Ben. We talked about the North Bay area, but you're looking that up. So I'm going to talk about going up Highway. Well, we can go. We can go in all four cardinal directions if North Bay is the center part, and that's why North Bay is a kind of a mecca for direction because you can go in all four directions. We talked about going kind of east towards Mattawa and Samuel D. Champlain Provincial Park and the Eau Claire Gorge. Snowshoeing off the grid kind of thing, snowshoeing the Talon Chutes. It's a must do in the wintertime, and you can do that. Going west, you're going towards Sturgeon, which has snowshoe trails, cross-country trails. But I was thinking a little bit to the west is Killarney, and you want to go up the Crack. And the Crack is a way to get you up on the La Cloche Mountains, and it's a wonderful, wonderful snowshoe event. So well packed now that that's where you might get away with the smaller snowshoes or lighter ones as opposed to the bigger ones. So Killarney Park is there, and of course in Sudbury alone, you've got the Rainbow Routes. They have a plethora of trails, urban trails in and around the city of Greater Sudbury. You can go right up to Onaping Falls. Windy Lake Provincial Park, which is at the northern boundary of the city of Greater Sudbury before going north on 144 to Cartier and up to Timmins. So there's a couple of parks. You've got Fairbanks And on that highway, 144 halfway Provincial Park, great trails in there. And of course, that's a day trip, whether you're in Sudbury or North Bay, those kinds of places. And if we were going up Highway 11, talked a little bit about Temagami, Martin River Provincial Park, and then of course the Devil's Rock, kind of a municipal trail kind of thing to one of the best vistas in Northern Ontario. We talked about that on a Backroads Bill podcast episode. We've got Cap Kigawan in Englehart. We've got the Pete's Dam and Triangle Rock and around Temiskaming Shores. People can Google all these names. And as we go further up, we've got Esker Lakes Provincial Park or Kirkland Lake, Kettle Lakes Provincial Park just to the west of Timmins, Greenwater, which is a closed provincial park. Cochrane has a cross-country ski and snowshoe trail network as well. There's trails right outside the arena in Kirkland Lake at the back of the arena. I mean, everywhere you go, there's places to go, whether it's the Matagami Conservation Area in Timmins. Beautiful trek is into High Falls. Highly recommend that. They also have a cross-country ski club and trails as well. And on it goes. You go all the way up north. You've got Rennie Burrell at Moonbeam. Kapuskasing has cross-country ski trails and snowmobile trails, as does beautiful ones in Hearst and Smoothwalk Falls. And so I'm just thinking as the map goes through my mind, all the places you can go. And then you've got those. So you've got Highway 11 and Highway 101, 144, secondary highways. And I mean, you've got all these. If a person goes on the internet and goes to Google's conservation reserves, which are non-operating tracts of land managed by Ontario Parks, there's a zillion places to go. Some of them would have local ad hoc trails into them or old logging roads, but there's conservation reserves are also great places to go and research and go to. I'm thinking about the yellow trucks now. You found out what it is.
Yes, I found. Well, these aren't yellow trucks.
What are they?
But this is off of a Bay Today article. Apparently, they're called fat trucks.
Oh, yeah. Fat trucks, yeah. But I want to know the name of the... There's a company.
It doesn't tell.
Trucks.
Yeah.
Why don't you put fat trucks?
There's
put towing trucks in North Bay Winter Rescue. Put that in. See
there's
what comes
LaFon's Towing and Recovery,
No.
but that's Sturgeon.
No.
What is it? North Bay
Towing and Recovery.
Recovery.
They're all over the place.
We will find this out.
We'll find this out. We're stuck on this.
Oh, is it? Or is this these trucks?
Well, I don't know. What's it called? What's the name of the company?
I don't know. I think it's just called North Bay Towing.
No, it's not that. It's
anyway, so this article, though, they call it a fat truck.
Oh, is it?
But the funny thing about it is these comments are hilarious on this Bay Today article where they're like, the first one's just, well, I hope the fishing was worth it that day. And then another one was like, someone should tell the owner about using local car washes. They're so much cheaper.
I think it's that yellow truck in that one picture there. But Snow Machine, I should say, there it is on that yellow one there. Yeah. Maybe.
That one's Bartlett's Towing.
Bartlett's, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Bartlett's, that's no one ever. I'm glad we got that solved. But with snowshoeing, you don't have to worry about towing services. You do have to worry about not getting your snowshoes wet or going through the ice. But there are trails everywhere to go snowshoeing on in Northern Ontario. That's absolutely. We just did a quick roundup of Northeastern Ontario, but also thinking about. Excuse me, I was thinking about all the snowshoe trails in Lake Superior Provincial Park, north of the Sioux. On and on it goes. The Cup and Saucer Trail on Manitoulin Island. It's endless. Elliott Lake, the trails they have in and around Elliott Lake, another trail mecca place to go. I mean, and the beauty of this in this conversation is people should consider the lodges that are open, maybe for snowmobilers or otherwise, hook up with them also to make a weekend of it or a long weekend of it and go to these, make day trips about all these trails because like snowmobilers are, it's tradition. You drive 100 or 200 or kilometers in a day. You stay over and you keep doing that. And then it's a badge of honor to go 500 kilometers over a weekend. Snowshoeing, same thing. If you headed to any one of the communities I've mentioned, you could be snowshoeing every day at a different trail. So
yeah. Okay, so as we wrap up here, there's a lot of great places that you can go, like even just locally that we've talked about, or wherever you end up being in Ontario, because again, there's just so many places that are just in your backyard that you can go. But you can also use it in tandem with snowmobiling, because you could take your snowshoes with you, depending on how big they are, and then you're able to go off into the trail as well, right?
Well, you can't go on a snowmobile trail with snowshoes. Yeah,
no, but you
the
can.
The Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs.
That's interesting to know.
You cannot do that.
Wait, you can't walk?
No, you cannot walk on a snowmobile trail when the trails are open.
How do you? Okay, but here's the thing. How do you know it's a snowmobile trail? If
they're all posted.
So if I'm just a random person...
The Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs is the most highly organized trail system in the world. So
wow.
you would know that. But I wanted to talk about, it's only recently that, hiking has always been around. And then when this emergence of the use of these fabricated snowshoes became really, really popular, hiking trails became obviously destinations for snowshoeists. So Masquinage Provincial Park, which is Noelville Way, south of Verner and the like, it was the first trail system to actually see the snowshoe icon on their trail signs, showing that it was snowshoe friendly, so to speak. And you'll see more and more of those now. And because organized trails are like that are maintained, well mapped, well managed. That's again for people who just want to get out and about and walk on top of the snow. That's where you go.
Hopefully, this is a timely episode for those people as we get ready, and we're in mid-December, and as we get ready for the snowmobile or snowshoeing season. Hopefully we'll be in the new year.
Well, you'll take me to task, Ben, sometime throughout the winter or whenever about how much snow there is and how mild it is, how cold it is. Or next year when we do these things again, you'll say, Bill, you were dead wrong.
Or dead right.
Yeah, or dead right.
We have the receipts. We got it.
So grab your snowshoes or look for them and get out there and get that vitamin in. And I'm glad we had this conversation just about because it's making me want to go snowshoeing.
So we learned, we laughed, and hopefully you laughed. And now you know a little bit more about a time-honored Canadian tradition in snowshoeing. And with all the snow that we've been getting lately, it's kind of a perfect time to break those bad boys out, hit the trails, just as long as they're not snowmobile trails, because that is a no-no. You can't walk on them, apparently. Something I learned today. So stay away from those. So if you enjoyed this episode, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, as well as on the North Bay Echo YouTube channel. New episodes, they come out like clockwork every single Wednesday morning, and that includes in 2-week time when we have a special Christmas episode. You don't want to miss out on it. Again, every single Wednesday morning, it will be in your inbox. It'll be on your YouTube page. Wherever you go, you will find us like clockwork. You can also check out our website, NorthBayEcho.ca, for all of our other local North Bay podcasts that we have to North Bay with Love, Echo Essentials, the Echo Sportscast, which are, of course, our core shows that are produced by us, but also other shows that are produced by some very talented local people as well. It is your go-to place for podcasting in North Bay. Check it out. Also, check out our Echo Essentials newsletter. It now comes out once a week alongside the show almost every Wednesdays at 11 a.m. It was nice before, but we recently just revitalized it. The team did an amazing job. They took the whole newsletter experience to the next level, and I'm not even kidding. It looked great before. It looks so much better. It's way faster. It's easier to read. There's more links you can click around and find exactly what you need to do. And it's just such a good way to keep a finger on the pulse of North Bay and all of the podcasts that are happening in the network, as well as the events in and around the town, news, all that fun stuff. And the best thing is it is free to sign up for. It doesn't cost you a nickel. Join me and Bill again next week for another Backroads adventure.